Two Zigbee devices. Same protocol, completely different experience. One works beautifully, everything exposed, everything usable, everything behaves exactly as expected. The other gives you battery percentage and disappointment. And here is the weird part. Most people blame the wrong thing. They blame Zigbee, they blame ZHA, they blame Home Assistant. And yes, before the comment section explodes, quick disclaimer. I know some of you are already typing just use Zigbee to MQTT. And honestly fair, just check out my video list. Zigbee to MQTT often has broader support, especially for weird devices. But this video is not about ZHA versus Zigbee to MQTT. I already did that. This is about something much more fundamental. Manufacturer support, community support and ecosystem support. Because in many cases the real problem with Zigbee devices in Home Assistant isn't Zigbee at all. We'll be starting in a couple of seconds. For my soundbar setup, I'll deliberately chose a KISS approach. Keep it simple stupid. I wanted fewer moving parts. No MQTT broker, no extra services, no additional infrastructure if Home Assistant already provides a solid native solution. That's why I chose ZHA. And overall, I like it. It's clean, it's integrated, it works well with most devices. But let's be honest here, ZHA isn't perfect either. And I think part of the responsibility also sits there. Not because ZHA is bad, I actually think the philosophy behind it is very good. But support velocity can be frustrating, and that matters more than people realize. The uncomfortable truth is that Zigbee support in Home Assistant depends on three things: the manufacturer, the community, and the maintainers. If all three work together, life is good. You buy device, pair it, everything works. Everyone is happy. But when one layer breaks, things get messy very quickly. Let's start with the manufacturers. Some genuinely care about interoperability. They provide documentation. They expose functionality properly. They help the ecosystems. Others ship hardware and disappear. Then there is a community. This is honestly one of the Home Assistant's biggest strengths. People build custom quirks, reverse engineer devices, test things, share fixes. That work is incredibly valuable. But then comes layer 3, maintainers, and this is where things get complicated. I fully understand a lot of this is volunteer work. I really and genuinely respect that. But when contributors build working custom quirks, submit pull requests, and those PRs sit for months, sometimes contributors simply give up. And that's a problem. Not for one person, but for the whole ecosystem. Because the goal shouldn't be perfection at the cost of momentum. The goal should be growing support fast enough that users don't abandon the platform. That's the hidden problem. The real issue often isn't Zigbee itself, it's friction between those three layers. Let's talk about Tuya. And yes, this is where things get spicy. Not every Tuya device is bad, some are perfectly fine, but buying Tuya for Home Assistant often feels less like buying a product and more like gambling. You can buy two devices that look almost the same. Same category, same specs, same marketing. One works beautifully. The other exposes half the entities, reports nonsense, and makes you question your life choices. This infrared blaster is a perfect example. Technically, it works. ZHA sees it, it pairs successfully. Battery works. It even gives me a switch entity. Sounds good, right? Except this is an infrared blaster. Its main jobs are incredibly simple. Learn infrared commands and then send infrared commands. That's it. That's literally the whole point of the device. and in ZHA I get neither. So yes, technically it's supported, but practically it's almost useless. Actually, it really is useless. This is where people get confused. Device support is not binary. It's not simply supported or unsupported. There are levels. Pairing successfully means very little if the actual useful functionality is missing. This device basically gives me battery percentage and disappointment. Now let's compare that with Sonoff. Sonoff isn't perfect out of box either, but here is the difference. They care, and that matters a lot. They provide official support documentation. They provide official custom quirks. They actively help bridge the gap between hardware and Home Assistant. That makes a huge difference, because now we are no longer depending entirely on community reverse engineering. The vendor is actually participating, and that changes the whole experience. Let me show you a real example. This Sonoff temperature and humidity sensor has been in my setup for a long time. It worked fine, but without the custom quirk, support was limited. Perfectly usable, but limited. Now let's look at the quirk itself. This is an official Sonoff custom quirk, documented and supported by Sonoff. Installation is really straightforward. Add the ZHA line inside your configuration YAML file, enable quirks with enable underscore quirks equal true, then add a path, custom underscore quirks underscore path, and your /config/ whatever you have in your setup. I created ZHA underscore quirks, and in that subfolder you just paste the file you got from a Sonoff official documentation and website. And now look at the difference. More entities, better functionality, more complete device support. Same hardware, same Zigbee protocol, completely different user experience. And this is exactly the point. Sometimes one properly built quirk changes absolutely everything. And this isn't just theory or lab demo. These Sonoff devices are part of my actual irrigation setup. Uno and Duo are real devices doing real work in smart vineyards. Without proper support, their usefulness would be limited. With official quirks, they become much more valuable inside Home Assistant. And that's the difference ecosystem support makes. It turns devices from partially useful into genuinely useful. And this becomes especially important in more complex automations like irrigation, moisture tracking, and smart garden systems, which by the way will be part of the upcoming video. Yeah, I know, I'm trying to upsell. So what's the takeaway here? Stop buying Zigbee devices based only on price, or specs, or marketing promise. Start evaluating ecosystem support. Look at the manufacturer support, look at ZHA support, look at Zigbee to MQTT support, look at community support, because the best Zigbee device isn't always the cheapest one, and it isn't always the one with the most impressive feature list. Often the best Zigbee device is simply the one with best ecosystem behind it. The hidden problem with Zigbee devices in Home Assistant isn't Zigbee itself, it's everything around it, and understanding that can save you a lot of frustration. So I hope that you did enjoy this video, and if you did, don't break your Zigbee network, just press the like button. And before I end up the video, I must say thanks to all those wonderful people that are supporting me and that have become YouTube channel members. Thank you all for all of your support. But let's not forget each and every one of you who has watched, shared, liked or commented on my videos. Thank you. If you too want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button down below and becoming a YouTube channel member for only €2 or $2 per month. Or you can go to my merchandise store and grab something there. Last but not least, as always, you can send me super thanks and I will be super thankful for that. I'll be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.